broken down and tired of living life on the merry-go-round. And you can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we can walk it out. Ooh, mountain, we can walk it out. And ooh, mountain. And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, I like the waves. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. The silence is quiet, and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe. And I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet. Ooh, mountain, bring it to its feet. Ooh, mountain. And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. All we need is hope. And for that we have each other. And for that we have each other. And we will rise, we will rise, we will rise. Oh, we'll rise. I'll rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up in spite of the ache. I will rise 1,000 times again. And we'll rise up, I like the waves. We'll rise up in spite of the ache. We'll rise up, and we'll do it 1,000 times again. When I wake up in the morning, love, and the sunlight hurts my eyes, and something without warning, love, bears heavy on my mind. Then I look at you, and the world's alright with me. Just one look at you, And I know it's gonna be a lovely day. When the day that lies ahead of me seemed impossible to face, when someone else instead of me always seems to know the way, then I look at you and the world's all right with me. Just one look at you and I know it's gonna be a lovely day. When the dead alive ahead of me seemed impossible to face, and when someone else instead of me always seems to know the way, then I look at you and the world's all right with me. I just want to look at you and I know it's gonna be a lovely day. Can't see nothing coming up behind, make my way through the darkness. Can't feel nothing but this chain that binds me. Lost track of how far I've gone, far gone, how high I've climbed. On the backs of 60 milestones, on the shoulder, half mile line. Come on up the horizon. Come on up where heads align. Come on up the horizon. Come on up the horizon now. Left the house this morning. Bells are ringing out the air. I swear the cross got called. On wheels of fire, I can roll down there. Sorry, Karen, I think I accidentally muted you while I was letting people in, but I think we're actually about ready to go ahead and get started anyway. So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Teach Plus Pennsylvania 2020 to 21 Showcase. My name is Laura Boyce, and I'm the proud Pennsylvania Executive Director of Teach Plus.
So we are going to go ahead and get started. Please continue to introduce yourselves in the chat. And Karen, if you can go ahead and keep on driving us on the slides, we are excited to dive in. We've got a lot to share with you today. All right. Okay, so if you can go back, Karen, to slide 3 for us. And Andrew, if you can help me with keeping an eye on the waiting room and continuing to let people in. What you see right here on the slides sorry, almost there. There we go. Is just some of the teacher leaders we've had the privilege of supporting over the course of this school year across all of our programs. And the purpose of today's event is to showcase their efforts and accomplishments over the course of this past school year. So as you know, the mission of Teach Plus is to empower excellent, experienced, and diverse teachers to take leadership over key policy and practice issues that advance equity, opportunity, and student success. In Pennsylvania this year, that work has taken place across multiple different programs that empower teacher leaders to have a voice in education policy and in the professional learning of their peers, both in Philadelphia as well as across the Commonwealth. Despite a pandemic, this school year has been a year of tremendous growth and impact for Teach Plus Pennsylvania. Across our different programs, we've worked intensively with over 100 teacher leaders while growing our statewide network to over 60 additional teachers. Our teacher leaders have been featured in over 20 media stories, and they've met with dozens of policymakers to advocate for equity for their students. As you'll see here, we have tripled the number of teacher leaders we supported this year, and we anticipate adding another 30 teacher leaders next year, which is really exciting. And of course, none of this would be possible without the generous support of our funders, several of whom are with us here today. So we are grateful for your support across our policy and practice work and appreciate your partnership. Before we hear from our teacher leaders, I'd like to introduce Teach Plus President and CEO, Roberto Rodriguez. Roberto has really been a champion for teacher leadership at the helm of Teach Plus the past 4 years, and we're thrilled that he will soon be joining the U.S. Department of Education as an Assistant Secretary, where we hope that he's going to continue to create opportunities for teacher voice and leadership. So please join me in welcoming Roberto.
All right, thank you, Laura. It is wonderful to be with you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here with Teach Plus Pennsylvania. I want to begin by thanking Laura and our outstanding team across PA for all they do each and every day to support our mission and support our teacher leaders. So Laura, Andrew, Karen, Mario, there may be others here that as I'm scrolling through, but I just want to thank you all for all you bring. I want to give them a round of applause, all of our teacher leaders. And I also want to just welcome some of our other staff that we have on. I see Jason, I see Josh, I see our outstanding VP for External Affairs and Policy, Lindsay Sobel. I'm just so pleased to be with you today. I want to thank our generous sponsors who took time out of their day to be with us and to celebrate some of the accomplishments, the outstanding work that we're doing through Teach Plus across Pennsylvania. And that wouldn't be possible without the generous support of all of our partners. So I want to thank you very much for making that possible. So, you know, this is really about celebrating the accomplishments of Teach Plus Pennsylvania. And I'm excited to be part of that conversation because, you know, we embarked on this work in Pennsylvania years ago, beginning with our work in Philly, our T3 work. And I hope we have some of our T3 school-based instructional leaders with us. I want to thank you for all the wonderful leadership you bring and you'll continue to bring into your school year to help improve language arts and reading for our elementary school students. We expanded that work through IMS. I know there's some IMS teachers that are probably here with us tonight or today. And then launched this advisory board which is really the inaugural kind of pioneers around thinking about how do we bring teacher leadership, teacher voice, and the vision and ideas of our best and brightest teachers to fruition in shaping policy change. And so want to thank our advisory board members, want to thank our network members who are here with us this afternoon, and want to acknowledge and thank so many of next year's policy fellows who might be with us today, who are just getting ready to embark upon this journey at Teach Plus. Our goal here through our work is to really help you become bilingual in policy and practice. We already know you are great teachers in your own right. That's what brought you to the fellowship, brought you to Teach Plus, brought you to this network. We want to help to support you to become deeper policy thinkers, leaders, advocates for your learners and for the profession at large. And so I hope over the course of this past school year, it's been an unprecedented year, and I can't think of a more important time for Teach Plus and for our mission in Pennsylvania to help unpack that policy process and raise the voice of our teacher leaders and raise that advocacy across the state, connect with our policymakers, with our Pennsylvania Secretary of Education, Ortega, with state level legislators and policy leaders, with leaders at the local level, to really begin to make change and to be advocates for our students and for our profession. So the work you've done across this past year in the advisory board to support the drive toward adequate and equitable funding across the state through the Level Up initiative and other initiatives to drive more dollars in weighted student funding to our classrooms and schools that need them the most. The work you've done to prioritize teacher diversity and do more to bridge that gap, to build a stronger pipeline of talented and diverse educators entering into the profession and supporting their success in those early years. The work you've done to raise your voice and stand up for justice for our documented teachers in Pennsylvania, and joining thousands, over 9,000 documented teachers around the country who are striving to really support the learning and development of our students at the helm of their classrooms. All of that is to the benefit of our students. It's to the benefit of our student opportunity mandate at Teach Plus that says that all the work we do in growing and supporting teacher leadership is about supporting a more equitable education environment where our students are able to learn to their full potential and develop deeply into with the skills they'll need to be successful in college and career and citizenship. And the mission that we lead around equity-driven teacher leadership, around making sure that regardless of a young person's zip code, his or her background, the language they speak, the family they come from, their gender, their race, they have every right to live and learn and thrive in an equitable education system. So we are laser-like focused at Teach Plus toward that end. I want to thank you all for being part of that charge this year. I hope it's been a year for you to practice your research skills, connect those skills and to the policy making and policy advocacy process. I hope you've been able to translate and connect your classroom experiences and your experiences over the course of your years of teaching to some system level change and opportunities to improve outcomes for students. And most of all, I hope you were called forth to discover and tap into your power as educators to shape educational change. And that is what we are all about at Teach Plus. We are about raising that voice and awakening that power beyond the four walls of your classroom. And whether that's the work that we do in our schools and the leadership that our teachers bring with their peers to help them, co-construct the solutions that we need to improve school climate, improve student outcomes, improve curriculum and teaching and learning, or whether that's the work that we do to call forth that power and through advocacy and policy recommendations, drive that change as advocates beyond those four walls of the classroom. Once that power is unleashed, I think the sky is the limit. And so for our advisory board members, I know there are a number of you that are continuing on and will be senior fellows next year. Thank you for your leadership. The alumni network at Teach Plus is strong, over 1,000 teachers strong, and it is one of the greatest resources. Our new policy fellows and our new school-based teacher leaders learn so much from the depth of knowledge that our alumni bring to their program. So I want to thank you for that. For our new teacher leaders that are coming in, our new policy fellows, I want to ask you to really bring your all to this experience. We want to ask you to step up and to connect and build that community that we're trying to build at Teach Plus. And I want to ask you all to please stay connected to Laura and her fantastic team. We want to be a resource for those of you that are continuing on beyond Teach Plus. We want to be a resource for your leadership, your growth, your development, even beyond the time that you're working with our coaches, even beyond the time that you're serving in our fellowship. As an alum, we want to help support your growth, your leadership, your advancement. So we want to ask you to stay connected and to practice that teacher leadership regularly. That is a muscle that needs to be used and practiced regularly. So I hope you'll do that and you'll bring others along in your journey. We can't be in every corner of every district of 15,000 school districts around the country. So we ask you to be that conduit and that ambassador for teacher leadership. Bring others along, help us to democratize and build that movement of teacher leadership to the benefit of our students. So thank you all so much for the chance to be here this afternoon. I'm looking forward to the showcase to come.
Thank you so much, Roberto, and we're grateful for your leadership. And now we want to hear from two of our teacher leaders about their experience with Teach Plus this year. We're going to start with Sean Hudson, who is a teacher leader in our T3 program in the School District of Philadelphia. Take it away, Sean.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sean Hudson, and this is my first year as a T3 teacher leader. I teach at Common School in Southwest Philadelphia. To begin with, I have grown professionally as a person and as an instructional leader because of the T3 teacher leader program. The year began with the T3 Summer Institute. Prior to the first virtual meeting, all the incoming teacher leaders were asked to complete approximately 4 hours of pre-work. Much of the pre-work was based around equity and anti-racism. I was very excited and engaged because a few weeks earlier, myself and a few friends were protesting in the streets over the George Floyd murder. We all knew qualified immunity, police training, and the apathy in America directed to Black lives needed to change now. I had just read White Fragility by Robert DiAngelo and How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi. So in my mind, I knew a thing or two about equity. However, I received a call from Andrew Nips, one of the T3 coaches, out of the blue. He wanted to discuss some statements I had written in my pre-work. It turns out the reflection process and examining my personal biases will begin that day. In one of the posts I had made on our pre-work discussion board, I only concentrated on anti-Black oppression and often did not reflect on other types of oppression. I'd written a pretty harsh and unfair critique and used some language that could have offended some of my colleagues. It was made clear to me that to do this work, we must fight against injustice and oppression in all forms. I revised my post and apologized for my offensive statements. Throughout Summer Institute, we had some great discussions and conversations around equity and anti-racism, which set the tone for how we would ensure our instructional practice would be culturally relevant and culturally affirming. We received great resources and we shared our own. Then we concluded Summer Institute by collaborating, creating a PD called Discussions Around Equity. I didn't know it then, but that Summer Institute changed the course of my life. For the first time, my eyes were open and I saw the humanity and activism the teaching profession inherently encompasses. We can liberate or oppress the minds of our students through our instructional practices. I went on to create and deliver PDs around equity and anti-racism. I met with my amazing coach, Karen Drexler, every week as she guided and pushed me to become a better instructional leader. She helped me create and deliver the weekly agenda during our weekly grade group meetings, which I led as part of the leadership process. She helped me deliver a better understanding of data, how it's used in the instructional process, and how progress monitoring is used and its importance to students. I developed communication, organizational skills, which are priceless in leadership. As I grew, I began to get more confidence. I received an alumni award from my graduate school and gave a thank you speech. I wanted to grow as a leader and a speaker. I joined Toastmasters. I was accepted into a master's program leading to principal certification at Teachers College of Columbia University. I was chosen to be on the inaugural cohort of the Equity Partners Fellowship at the School District of Philadelphia. The T3 Teacher Leadership Program amplified my personal desire to be great for students. Whenever I tell them that they can do or be whatever they choose, I must model the same mindset. Between the one-on-ones, weekly grade team meetings, bi-weekly cohort meetings, and the Teach Plus cohort meetings, the leadership skills I developed and the growth in my instructional practice have exceeded my expectations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sean. And we are so proud of the growth that you've made and everything that you've contributed to your students and your team. Next, we're going to hear from one of our policy fellows on our inaugural Teacher Policy Advisory Board. Selenia Teo is a teacher in Norristown and a member of the Teacher Diversity Working Group of the Advisory Board.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Selenia Teo. I am a middle school teacher, middle school global leadership teacher at Stewart Middle School in the Norristown Area School District. What Teach Plus means to me, it extends beyond what I learned professionally and about policies. You may be able to tell now, but I get very nervous when I speak to people. When I speak in front of people, I get really red and I get really anxious. But because of Teach Plus PA, I have been able to open up more, and I was able to finally start using my voice in a way that has really enhanced my experience, not only as an educator, but just as a person in general. When I was given the chance to, when I was told about this opportunity, I wasn't very confident in myself. I didn't really think that I was going to get it when I interviewed with Laura, and I was ecstatic when I got the email and it said that I had been chosen to be part of this program. Here at Teach Plus PA, I learned a lot about policies that I was really passionate about, but I had no idea how they were being developed or what I could do about them. I remember being like the person that would open up the news and I would complain about it to everyone around me, and I would go into school and I would make sure that I was doing what I could in my classroom. And I wouldn't even stop to think, well, what can I do to make sure that these policies don't go any further? Or what can I do to make sure that something happens so that we develop policies that provide an equitable education for all of our students? Being the daughter of immigrants and being a first-generation college student, being a first-generation master's degree graduate, this experience has been just really awakening for me. I didn't realize how much there was that I could do to help empower my students that are in my own situation. I didn't realize that students that were DACA recipients couldn't be teachers in Pennsylvania until I met the people at Teach Plus PA. And that's kind of where my passion really started to grow, or where it really started to develop more. I started to read more articles. I started to investigate how I could do something to add on to this group that I felt that I wasn't really, I knew that I was a part of because it's super supportive, but I didn't feel like I was on the same level as everybody else's expertise. And because of the people that I worked with, I was able to take those things that I learned here and transfer those not only into the community by writing an op-ed that was published, but by putting all of these new things that I learned into my own classroom. I didn't know what an op-ed was until I was here, and it was kind of, I was really kind of like almost embarrassed to like ask like what is an op-ed, and then I realized, you know what, my students probably don't know what an op-ed is, and I have some amazing students, and this is kind of where I'm going with this, at Norristown, that are just so talented, and they're being directly affected by some of the policies that are in place in Pennsylvania. I took everything that I was learning and I started researching about other policies that I knew directly affected them regardless of their background. And the students were just in awe. Like, they were so surprised. They were, in some cases, really upset. And I started telling them what we could do as students. They actually started to write op-eds on their own. My students and these are 3 things that my students have done. One of the things was they started an organization within the school that they're hoping to expand next year, where they are now an LGBTQ friendly, that's my son, friendly club and organization that they recently decided to name Pride Zone. Had it not been for what I learned here at Teach Plus PA, I wouldn't have really known how to guide them in that and doing research, because of how much I learned about policies and how policies are written and what goes into that. Some of my students actually wrote and created PowerPoints highlighting different policies that have and bills that exist in Pennsylvania that are going to affect students who are part of the LGBTQ community. I also had students write an op-ed. They did this together, so in a team, and they presented this op-ed to our school principal regarding their ability to walk around the school during special area classes after COVID, and when we were back in the building, so that they could have a break outside. And they did research and they stated the problem, and they went through the whole op-ed process, and they nailed it. They were awesome. And what was best was I knew that my principal was going, I had spoken to her previously, so we knew that we were going to empower these students, but they didn't know that. And the look on their faces when their op-ed was approved and they were told that they could walk around the school building, they talked about it for the rest of the school year. Oh man. And the last thing, my thought just went over there right now. But the last thing I'll stop because I can go on forever about what I learned here, was that one of my students, after learning about everything that DACA recipients go through, being a student of immigrant parents herself, she came up with an idea, this was an 8th grader, of forming a welcoming committee created 100% by students so that students could feel welcome when they first arrive here from a different country or from a different school. And all of that wouldn't have, I know it comes from them, but I wouldn't have felt empowered enough or knowledgeable enough or confident enough to help them achieve all of that if it hadn't been for Teach Plus PA. And I'm very excited for what's coming next in this upcoming year. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Selenia. And I just love how sort of your personal growth also fueled your students' growth and how you brought all of those skills back to all of them. So really, really appreciate that. Okay, so now we are going to keep on moving into some presentations from some of the working groups that were in operation this year. We're going to start off with some of our policy fellowship groups and then also hear from some of our instructional practice teacher leaders. So first up is our equitable funding working group from our policy advisory board. So I'm going to turn it over to the names that you see here on the screen. And I think we can go on to the next slide, Karen.
Hi, I'm Jess Keys, and we have had some absolutely amazing opportunities this year to learn from and to partner with experienced and talented equity advocates. We have learned how important it is to tell our stories and how that can impact not only policy, but also, and perhaps even more importantly, the public perspective. As teachers, all of us have witnessed the inequities that take place in our classrooms, our schools, our districts, and our communities. Having the opportunity to work with Anya, the Vice President of Communications and Media at Teach Plus, to write about our experiences and, more importantly, our children's experiences regarding funding inequities was incredibly empowering, and it really opened our eyes to the possibilities associated with the written word. So if you take a look here on the slide, here are a few of the titles of the op-eds that were published during our time in the fellowship.
Hi. And I just want to interject to say there's 2 more op-ed titles that are not on here because they just got published in the past 2 days. So the group has just continued to go.
Hi, I'm Holly Mead from Scranton, Pennsylvania, and I cannot thank Teach Plus enough for the awesome platform that you have provided us with. You have given us, as the classroom teacher, a voice. And as teachers, we've always had that teacher voice, but you allowed our individual efforts to become one, and it echoed across the state and the nation. And the best part is it's actually reverberating back into my classroom and hopefully going to affect real change for my 7th graders here in Scranton. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So we took this idea to heart about how we could make our teacher voice even louder. And we prepared 3 social media campaigns this year, all targeting fair and equitable education funding in Pennsylvania. So it began with the holiday campaign, asking our legislators basically for a present or a gift during the holidays for fair funding. And then we did another campaign, kind of more data driven, that targeted and to bring attention to fair funding. And finally, we're in our last social media campaign right now to bring attention to Level Up, trying to drive home the need for critical equitable funding during the crucial budget month of June. So we've received over 100,000, write that down, 100,000 impressions and engagements. And we just realized truly how powerful when teachers get together collectively, how powerful their voice can be. So I can't thank Teach Plus enough. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I'm so excited that these changes are coming to our classrooms. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And shout out, tomorrow's the last day of school. Yeah!
All right, and we go on to the next slide. I am Mike Fascinetto. I am a teacher from Allentown, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the folks we met with beyond the op-eds and beyond the social media. We took our fight for fair funding and equitable funding right to the state legislature. We met with Senator Pat Brown, the chair of the Appropriations Committee. We met with Senator Mensch, as well as numerous representatives, Mark Longetti, Brian Cutler, Oberlander, Representative Schlossberg, Cerisi, Gatos. Jess also met with some representatives of US Representative Connor Lamb's office. And we really took our stories to them to explain to them how inaction in the state legislature really affects our students in the classroom every day. And we had the opportunity to share, obviously how COVID impacted our students, how some of our districts that were more challenged financially and historically underfunded, how we didn't bounce back from COVID as quickly as others and pivot to virtual learning. And a lot of them were surprised to hear some of the stories we told of how we, tried to connect with students and how our students didn't have the tools in place, and really how state funding affects every single student, every single classroom, whether it's an urban district, a rural district, a suburban. We shared data with them that showed that every single state senator has a school district that would benefit from our Level Up campaign that we really pushed hard on, trying to get additional funds to the districts that need the most, that have been grossly underfunded, the top 100 grossly underfunded districts over the past, I would say several years, but decades, unfortunately. And I just want to give a shout out before I turn over my time to Beth Yoder, my colleague in the Fair Funding Group, who is literally in a hospital bed. Beth, I see you there, had some surgery today. And that's how dedicated she is to her students and to Teach Plus, to still show up literally from a hospital bed. I mean, if that's not impressive, I don't know what is. So Teach Plus was an incredible opportunity, an incredible experience to bring the student voices of our districts to the folks who make the decisions day in and day out, and really see how their actions or inactions affect students in our classroom every day. So kudos to my team and to Laura and everybody at Teach Plus for a truly incredible opportunity.
And I think, Mike, do you want to explain this last slide?
I can explain this. I was going to call on
Images.
Holly. This was her idea, how we started, how all of us started, most of us started the school year. You see us on the top left there on Zoom, happily in our, not happily, but in our houses. And then finally, every one of us was able to get back in the classroom. I have no idea who that guy is in the middle. But you see much more impressive Beth down there with Governor Wolf, and the rest of us with some of our students, finishing out the year the way we know best, in a classroom with our students, reconnecting and building those relationships that we missed all year.
Thank you so much to the Equitable Funding Working Group. We're so excited about the progress you've made and the work that's still to come. Next up is the first subgroup from our Teacher Diversity Working Group. And this group was really focusing on policy. I'll let them take it away and tell you a little bit more. I know that Michelle did have to hop off to do daycare pickup, but I'm excited for you to hear from Erin and Selenia.
So our group really focused on the teacher diversity, cultural proficiency, and the recruitment and retention of teachers of color. We did a lot of, as I mentioned earlier, op-ed writing, a lot of preparation which Laura was really helpful. She really was. If it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have been able to polish these the way we did. You see listed here some of the op-eds that were and the media stories that were published. I know what the challenges are for Black teachers and how to start fixing them. They see me as a role model. I put one out about DACA recipients, and then they wrote one about me as well and what we were doing, but it's all dedicated towards Teach Plus PA. We also met with legislators at both the federal and state level to share ideas, and some of those meetings led to ongoing partnerships to develop or advance legislation. We're hoping to continue to advance these relationships. And I know that some of those people are here today, and we really appreciate you being here. I think we can turn it over to the next slide.
All right, my name is Aaron Taylor. I'm currently a music teacher with the Erie School District. First of all, this past year working with Teach Plus has been absolutely incredible. So a little bit about more of what we did. We also worked on several policy memos and recommendations on how Pennsylvania can improve teacher diversity and cultural proficiency. We identified a need for a greater data transparency on teacher diversity, and our recommendations are currently being worked into proposed legislation at both the state and federal levels. We worked with Senator Judy Swank to advocate to allow Dreamers and other immigrants to teach in Pennsylvania, and continue to explore legislative and administrative pathways for this. We developed recommendations for building a cultural proficiency in Pennsylvania for educators. And this is a goal that is particularly urgent for the proposed bill that would limit the ability of teachers to teach in culturally proficient ways. And many of our policy ideas made their way into the Pennsylvania Educators Diversity Concern policy agenda for next year, which we hope will lead to lasting policy change.
And speaking of the Pennsylvania Educator Diversity Consortium, we also partnered with two Norristown educators. I'm extra proud of that. I've worked with both. Dr. Hampton is my colleague at Stewart, and Dr. Harper works at East Norriton. They actually are going to be offering a workshop on cultural competency at the PEDC Annual Summit next week. So please be sure to sign up. It's going to be an amazing, altogether. We're really looking forward to participating in a panel discussion at the summit as well.
Sorry, I'm trying to get my mouse into the right place so I can see my notes. So next up is our second subgroup from the Teacher Diversity Working Group, which did a lot of work around inspiring more youth of color to enter a teaching profession that is currently 94% white in Pennsylvania. So I will turn it over to that group.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Derek Long, and I teach in Pittsburgh at Perry High School. And our group, we initiated a letter writing campaign where we wrote personal letters, or we asked for volunteers for people to write personal letters to high school students to really encourage them to pursue teaching as a career. And a special shout out to Selenia and Dr. Rhonda Threet and Melanie Abney, who are three people who wrote letters to students. So our goal was to promote the need for more teachers of color and then to motivate high school students to pursue those careers in teaching. So I will pass it over to Melanie and Jamal.
Okay, I see Jamal's on, but I can speak for him. So he was in charge of the social media campaign. And so he, what you see here on the slide are just different, I guess, ads or posters or the quotes or different things that he would put on social media each week to just kind of bring the awareness of the lack of teachers of color in Pennsylvania. And that was sort of that would promote then our letter writing campaign. And then it also ties into the next slide, if you want to go to the next slide. And I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Melanie Abney, and I'm a school counselor in the School District of Lancaster. And one of our another proud moments is we had a virtual summit that we hosted, and Sharif El-Mekki was our keynote speaker, and he kind of set the tone for the night. And then we had a panel discussion where we talked more about why choose education, why do we need more teachers of color, and how teachers of color not only benefit children of color, but all children. And we had 125 people register, about 59, 60 people attended. The panelists were students, professors, and we had 2 community sponsors, and it was a really great night. It was an awesome experience, and I look forward to continuing the work. And Teach Plus was just a really awesome experience for me. Just like some of my other fellows said, it just opened our eyes, it empowered us. I've always had a voice and could advocate, but now I know how to channel my voice to make more change. And I just want to thank Laura and Teach Plus for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Derek, Melanie, and Jamal. Finally, we're going to hear from participants in our T3 Teacher Leadership Program in Philadelphia. So I'm excited to welcome Andrew Knips, one of our T3 coaches, along with Jen Nazario Lopez and Amanda Strain from McClure Elementary School, one of our T3 partner schools.
Thanks, Laura. My name is Andrew Knips. I'm an education leadership coach with Teach Plus, and I work in our T3 program here in Philly in partnership with the School District of Pennsylvania, or Philadelphia rather. And we're entering our 5th year of the work, which is really exciting. We're coaching teacher leaders and teams in their PLCs to improve instructional practice. And part of that work is identifying those teams, which in our elementary schools are often based off of grade level. But this past year, we expanded our grade level PLCs to include a dual language PLC in 2 of our schools. And so one of those schools is Alexander McClure Elementary. And I'm excited for you to hear firsthand a little bit about that experience from 2 of our wonderful leaders, Jen Nazario Lopez, the dual language teacher leader, and Amanda Strain, our assistant principal. So I'll turn things over to Jen.
Thank you, Andrew. As Andrew said, my name is Jennifer Nazario Lopez, and I am one of McClure's dual language teachers and teacher leader. Could we go back real quick to the other slide? Because I wanted to inform who we are and what we do. Thank you very much. So Alexander K. McClure proudly serves the Hunting Park community in North Philadelphia. We're one of 6 schools in the city of Philadelphia with a dual language program. Students in the program in grades kindergarten to 5th grade study grade level content in 2 languages, that is in English and in Spanish. And our goal is to prepare students to become bilingual and biliterate. That means to read, write, and speak fluently in both languages by the time they exit the program in the 5th grade. During the time in the program, students are also expected to achieve academic excellence and develop cultural competency. Next slide, please. All right, so this year was a year of transformation for McClure. Thanks to the support of our T3 coach, Andrew Knips, and our school leaders, it was possible to establish the school's first dual language professional learning team, which gave dual language teachers an opportunity to collaborate with dual language educators in the school. Early in the school year, the team recognized that in order to engage in data analysis and measure the effectiveness of our instructional practices on student learning, we had to first become experts at teaching for biliteracy. So we decided to take a non-traditional approach to professional learning communities, which is a book study. We studied the book Teaching for Biliteracy to learn more about the research-based practices used to develop biliteracy, but most importantly, about how to draw on student, teacher, and community resources to plan and design instruction that is rigorous, culturally responsive, and supports students' development of academic English and Spanish. We learned about how to capitalize on students' experiences and background to improve student outcomes, strategies for guiding bilingual learners to transfer the academic content they have learned in one language to another, how to engage students in contrastive analysis of the two languages, develop academic English and Spanish across content areas, as well as metalinguistic awareness. So the book study became the foundation to developing and redefining the program at McClure. As we learn more about biliteracy, we realized that we needed to start making more equitable decisions to support our teachers and give students equitable access to high quality dual language instruction. So we began by investing in Spanish intervention materials for all of the grades, K-5, which we didn't have in the past. We were also able to secure professional development for our Spanish teachers, something we didn't have in the past either. And from this learning that we did, some of our teachers were invited to collaborate with the Office of Multilingual Curriculum and Programs in the district to share their knowledge about biliteracy and support the planning and reviewing of the new dual language curriculum that the district is creating. We also recognized that to make more equitable decisions, we needed to identify the needs the team, the students, and the program in general, had. So later in the year, we hosted a focus group, which enabled us to better identify the changes we needed to make in order to make this program a high quality and effective program. And one of those major changes we are implementing next year as the result of the focus group and the work we did is shifting to a new program model that would allow students to have exposure to both languages on a daily basis, rather than receiving instruction in one or the other language every week. I'm going to pass it on to our assistant principal, Amanda Strain, who will be sharing more information about how this learning has impacted McClure's decision-making process and future investments in the program.
Thanks, Jen. So hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm Amanda Strain, the assistant principal at McClure. And I want to thank both Jen and Andrew for leading this work. Like Jen has mentioned, this work has made a tremendous impact on our dual language program. And from this work, we have made intentional shifts to support improved outcomes for both our dual language students and teachers. Like Jen had mentioned, we adjusted our language allocation model, which informed our hiring. We've dedicated additional PD funds to ensure our dual language teachers receive training on best practices to support biliteracy. And we feel that this work has laid the foundation for more equitable outcomes for our dual language students and the McClure community. We're very excited to continue this important work next year and in years to come. Thanks so much.
Thank you to our McClure team, and we are really so excited about this new avenue that you have been paving for us. We're shifting our order a little bit just because of time, and we're actually, Karen, if we can go back to slide 12, we are unable to feature all over 100 of our teacher leaders who are so amazing. We have instead put together a few additional voices, particularly some more of our instructional practice teachers, into a short video. And so we are excited to share that with you. Wow, look at all of the things we've already covered. Can you believe it? Here we go. Here we go.
Teach Plus has really supported me in growth, knowledge, and skills, specifically with feedback, protocols, deep dives into the standards, and most importantly, helping me to transfer that knowledge into practical use.
Thank you for letting me be a part of Teach Plus this year. It was an awesome, exciting organization to belong to. I feel revitalized as a classroom teacher. They are making strides, changes in equity and funding to help students like the two girls right behind me. So thanks, Teach Plus. It's been an awesome year, and I can't wait to see what happens to the fellows next year. Bye.
Working as a teacher leader with Teach Plus has been extremely rewarding, and it's gotten me excited about teaching again. This work has driven change and growth in me, both professionally and personally. It's helped me to shift mindsets and improve instructional practices in both myself and my colleagues. I'm just feeling more equipped, more empowered, and energized to take action to increase equitable opportunities for our students.
One of the benefits that I've learned from Teach Plus is just how to utilize and to use my voice. I recognize that I'm a music teacher first, but I'm also an educator that has stories of children's voices that need to be heard outside of the classroom so that the policymakers can make an impact. And one of the biggest takeaways that I've taken away from Teach Plus is being able to not only recognize that I have that voice, but knowing how to put it out there and where to put that voice so that it can be heard by not just the people here in the school, but the community that I serve.
Teach Plus has provided me with the opportunity to pursue my passion of becoming a literacy leader in our network. This program has allowed me to push myself out of my comfort zone personally and professionally. Throughout our sessions, I've learned more about my own strengths and areas for growth as a leader and educator using the LAC. And our cadre meetings and one-on-one sessions continue to push me to continue to do the daily work of truly becoming an anti-racist educator.
Hi, my name is Jess Keys, and Teach Plus has been an amazing opportunity for me to connect with other like-minded individuals across the state in an effort to not only work towards some common goals to support equity and diversity, but also to give and receive much needed support, especially in this unprecedented year. The trainings that Laura was able to facilitate for us were incredibly informative and educational, but also really empowering. And as a teacher of nearly a decade, I can say that Teach Plus, without a doubt, has been one of the most inspiring and motivating experiences that I've ever had the pleasure of having. My hope is to stay connected to the network for many years to come. And anyone that is considering joining Teach Plus or supporting them, it is a fantastic organization, and I can't say enough good about it.
Hello, I'm Zephyr, a first grade teacher at Taylor Elementary School in Philadelphia, PA. What does Teach Plus mean to me? Well, being a woman of color, Teach Plus allowed me to be the voice and speak out about equity and equality for my students. Being able to be that voice for my students allowed me to grow in so many different aspects I could never imagine with the help of Teach Plus. Teach Plus also allowed me to collaborate with my team and others across the grade and my school. Throughout the network, I collaborated with so many different people and got so much information about just being a professional and a teacher. Teach Plus also allowed me to be the voice of change for my students. Teach Plus also allowed me to continue to grow and learn in so many different ways. And I hope that I can continue to grow and learn with the help of Teach Plus. Thank you.
So we hope that you feel like you've had the opportunity to get to know our incredible teacher leaders a little bit better and are feeling fired up about their work. We only wish that you could get a chance to hear every single one of their stories because we're so proud of them. We want to close by giving you a preview of the work to come in the upcoming school year, because we do have exciting plans for expansion of both our instructional practice and our policy work. And we are excited to share that with you. So I know Karen is working on getting us back on to the shared screen. Okay, and we can go on to the next slide. So we are expanding from a policy advisory board to a full policy fellowship. I see that I still have X districts. I need to actually count how many total districts and networks we have represented among our 30 new policy fellows, many of whom are here tonight. I would estimate at least 20 different districts and networks from all across the Commonwealth. We are going to have 4 to 6 different working groups next year that are focusing not only on equitable funding and teacher diversity, but also on early childhood education, teacher preparation and pipeline, grade level reading and high quality instructional materials, and COVID-19 recovery. So we are really excited to continue to expand this work and are so excited for those of you who joined us tonight from our new cohort. Next slide. We're also excited to expand our team to support the policy work with our new policy manager, Mario DaCosta, who's with us tonight, as well as 4 alumni of this year's policy advisory board, whom you heard from tonight, who are going to be continuing on as senior fellows and guiding the working groups next year. So excited to have Aaron, Selenia, Mike, and Derek continue on as senior fellows. Our instructional practice work will continue with the 5th and final year of the T3 program in Philadelphia, led by Andrew Knips and Karen Drexler. We are going to continue to support our 5 elementary schools with teacher-led PLCs, and our focus in year 5 is really on building school level capacity to sustain this work once the official partnership ends. And so we are excited to see where that work continues. And we're also excited, if you can move to the next slide, Karen, to have that T3 partnership also inform our new partnership in Network 11 of the School District of Philadelphia, where we're supporting 4 new elementary schools in developing a culture of shared leadership under the leadership of Andrew Knips. So in addition to working with a cohort of 32 teacher leaders across these 4 schools on their facilitation of grade level teacher teams, we're also going to be intentionally supporting each school leadership team with developing their internal systems and supports for shared leadership. And we're really excited about everything that we will learn from this new model and the implications that that can have on our work in Philadelphia and across the country. Meanwhile, we are excited to begin the second phase of a 3-year partnership with Independence Mission Schools, a network of 14 Catholic schools in Philadelphia. This fall, the literacy content cadre leaders who were selected and began their training this past spring will begin facilitating cross-school grade level PLCs to improve literacy instructions and outcomes in the network. We're really excited for this, this new program and the particular focus on high quality instructional materials and professional learning based around that. And then finally, we're excited to continue growing and supporting our statewide Pennsylvania teacher network as a larger base of engaged, equity-focused teachers, including alumni of our policy and practice programs, as well as teachers who are interested in becoming more involved. Our goal is to reach 250 network teachers by 2 years from now, and we're already halfway there after only 8 months of the network's existence. The network has access to monthly opportunities to learn and develop advocacy and instructional skills, and they will also help to amplify our research and our advocacy efforts. And that brings us to the end of our showcase. It's hard to do justice in an hour to the amazing work of our teacher leaders, but we hope that you did get a taste of the work that they've been doing and will continue to do in the coming year. We also hope to continue to work with you, our partners in the legislature and other policymaking spaces, in advocacy organizations, in school leadership and district leadership roles, and our partners who are helping to fund this work. We want to work with all of you to advance equity for our students through teacher voice and leadership in the year ahead. So thank you so much for your engagement. We appreciate your support, and we are looking forward to continuing to work together in the coming year. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, everyone.